Hi, I'm David with EV World News. We're talking about electric vehicles, green energy, and the stock markets. Today, I've got engineer Mike Herzog with us again. How's it going, Mike?
It's a great Wednesday to be here, David.
We appreciate you being here as always. We've got kind of an eclectic list of articles to cover today. One of the interesting ones that I really liked is Tesla has changed the pricing on full self-driving. And instead of it being like just paying a flat $12,000 up front,
Yeah.
they're offering a $99 a month option. And that's kind of cool because people could really give it a tryout. And
Yeah.
one of the things that Tesla needs, they need more data. They need more people doing the full self-driving. And we were talking about this before the show. All of these vehicles are big data collectors. There's good and, prospectively good and bad to that. But on the good side, the more people who are driving, the more data they have. They know how fast people are going around curves
Oh
and
yeah.
different
Yeah.
things.
It's the crunch. I mean, for Tesla, and if anybody's going to do it right, I think it's going to be them, and pull that together and actually pull something from it. But I don't know. I like to see it. It's innovative. It's a subscription package. It's down to a monthly subscription package and managing it that way. Um, if Tesla drivers are anything like me, I'm going to sign up for something and probably forget about it for 3 or 4 months, even if I want to get rid of it. So
Right.
I think there's some incentive there that they have calculated from their part, but um, it's a try it, right? It's more incentive. Just hey, give it a try. It's like all other subscription options. See if you like it, and then drop out if you decide you're never going to use it.
Their basic autopilot comes standard on all Tesla models. Sometimes it's been an added cost, but it's similar to the driver assist found in most 24 model year cars. It includes the intelligent cruise control and lane centering, which to me, those are probably the most significant pieces of the whole thing. Anyways, they have this enhanced autopilot that adds
Mhm.
navigating on and off ramps and interchanges, and allows the summon feature. I don't know that really adds a lot. Those are fun, but I'm not
Yeah,
sure that they really add a lot.
I some of those driver assist modes, they're not my favorite. I'll be honest with you. It's when it's just, hey, here's your lane correction, here's everything on a cross country highway trip, absolutely. But boy, in city driving, some of the overcorrection they do, I kind of find it detrimental because whoa, why did my wheel react that way? I wasn't expecting that when I started to drive over. So that enhanced autopilot seems more of just, hey, we added this package to your maps, and we're going to help you stay in the lanes when you get in the off ramps. It's more minute, it's a little bit closer. But yeah, I'm with you. I don't know how much that really adds for that price tag.
Right.
For
No,
a
I
couple
get
of
that.
bucks, sure, absolutely. Give me the enhanced, but $6,000, that's not nominal by any means.
No, and when you get to the $12,000 option, that's now $100 a month. Its price has risen and fallen in the past year. The system will read and react to traffic lights and stop signs and steer around some turns with the driver's active supervision.
Okay.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty good. I like the ability of just barely touching or not touching the steering wheel for a while
Mhm.
it goes down the highway. It's
Yeah.
just it's just very smooth how it keeps the car in the center of the lane. But I thought, that's going to appeal to a lot of people. I don't know if that's going to really make people flock to buy more Teslas, but it's certainly something. If you were looking at, I spent a lot of time looking at what deals are out there in that sub
Mhm.
$25,000 used EV market, and there's more and more good stuff hitting the thing. Bill and I talked yesterday about some different cars, and I'm getting suggestions from people, and they want me to look at the Bolt. We were
Okay.
looking, but we were looking at the Nissan Leaf yesterday. So the Nissan Leaf depreciates something like 38% the first year
Oh
right
wow.
now. But yeah, it's the second worst car. The Mercedes EQS is the highest depreciating car in the first year, and the Leaf was second. But what was interesting with the Leaf was after if you look at some 2022s, they're under $20,000 and then you can tack on so a 1-year-old car, you can tack on a $4,000 rebate and use that for down payment assistance. I mean, because you can use it at the point of
Interesting.
purchase.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so it makes it really easy to go out and buy one of those right now.
yeah.
And I mean, that's almost a new car. And a lot of the ones I was looking at, they're like anywhere from 6,000 to 20,000 miles on
Which is
them,
nothing.
which is nothing.
That's
The Leaf
standard.
only has a 150-mile range, but there's also Tesla Model 3s out there. Now they have
Mhm.
higher miles typically. Typically, those are going to
Yeah.
have 90 to 100,000 miles if they're in that, or there may be 120,000
But
miles.
still, that point of purchase is so much more appealing. Speaking for myself and just everyone's, well, you get a credit on your tax. Make sure you file this form next year. Remember to
Right,
make sure you do it. Now, for $4,000 or $7,500, absolutely, I'm going to remember to file that on my taxes.
right.
But on
No,
the
I know.
same hand, it's like, check the box. Do you just wanted to apply it right now? Great. Here you go. Here's your $4,000.
But I'm just saying that if you went and you bought one of those Teslas that with the $4,000 rebate pushes it down to
Yeah,
$20,000, then you might add the $100 a month to
absolutely.
have those fancy features on it. It would
Mhm.
be a lot different than going and buying that for 20,000 and thinking, no, I'm not going to spend an extra 12,000 to
Yeah.
add that feature to it. So and it's interesting because all of the Teslas inherently have that ability. You just have to pay for the software,
Yeah.
and so
Oh, it's
it's like,
great. It's
yeah,
all the other models. It's an ad. Hey, do you want to watch this ad free? Pay your $5 a month. Do you want to look at it in multiple locations? Here's an extra $5 a month.
yeah.
So I like seeing that.
So this was something I just thought was funny. So apparently Italy has a law that says if something isn't made in Italy, you can't give it an Italian sounding name. So anyways, um, oh, what is it? Guardians of the Galaxy. The ship is called the Milano, and that was actually named after Alyssa Milano.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
but but this, this one this one is not. So this Alfa Romeo Milano, which sounds very Italian. Alfa Romeo is an Italian brand. It's built in Poland. Which might also be why Alfa Romeo's quality's gone up. That there's some big questions there. It used to be people used to talk about Fiat meant fix it again, Tony.
Mm,
But Alfa Romeo is kind of in the same boat. And I realize Bill drives a Fiat, so we won't bring that up when Bill's on the show. But what is an Alfa Romeo without a cool Italian sounding name? The Italian government is playing hardball, saying that's illegal since the car is going to be built in Poland. It's not made in Italy. It can't sound Italian. They'll call it the Poliano.
yeah, that's fun. They just went after, probably not just, it's probably been a couple of years now. I think it was Barilla Pasta, which
Mhm.
was an Italian company, but as they moved production over to the United States. They put on the box, Italy's finest, such and such, and the Italian government went after and said, no, you can't say that anymore. You're producing it stateside now,
Oh
so
God.
you have to take that out of your marketing.
Yeah, listeners, if you want to put in
There,
the comments, if you
yeah,
have some suggestions what they should rename this since they're going to make it in Poland and not in Italy, can't call it the Milano. We'll put them on here. So that might be fun.
that's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. Anyways, my next articles are kind of contradictory. So, in the United States, for the most part, Hyundai Kia has been the number 2 EV seller in the U.S. And it's funny because when people think of, well, you got Tesla, then, well, I think Ford and Chevy make them, but they're not selling, right? Well,
Mhm.
Kia has some cars sitting on the lot from 2023 still they need to sell. And so they're giving some incentives. Now, this came to me from an auto dealers association. So this wasn't from our typical type of articles, but Kia is giving dealers an extra $1,000 for every EV6 and 1,500 for each EV6 GT they get into a customer's hands. They're also offering $500 on the 2024 versions of the EV6 or the EV9. That's that new
That's the new one.
SUV. That's that new
Yeah,
SUV that looks real popular. But what's interesting? This Kia EV6, they look sharp.
I like
They
them. I
it
like what
you
Kia's doing.
you know when you pull up and the way they redid the Kia logo, which is kind of weird. I keep thinking, what's that double N? Because it
Hmm.
looks like two N's to me.
Yes.
But they've got a very Porsche-like feel as far as the way they look, and it's got a real clean look
I
to
like
them.
what Kia's done. I like what the Ionic has done.
Hmm.
I like Volkswagen's new designs for their electric fleet. I mean, I think they're doing a good job with them.
When Hyundai and Kia first came out, I thought they were all just kind of a joke. They're a lot of crap, and I'm not talking about EVs. I'm talking about just all their cars in
Yeah.
general. But now their stuff looks great. They've even got some paint colors. They have this gray matte color that I
Mhm.
think is one of the sharpest looking colors on cars out right now. And it's just a different
It's not
look.
not EV related necessarily, but boy, that the Kia full size SUV is great, and it's getting wonderful reviews. And compared to any other full size SUV, the price tag's reasonable. I mean, boy, if you want to get a Yukon, if you want to get well, forget an Escalade, and those price tag places, but anything else like that, holy smokes, that gets up. But the Kia models, it's luxury, it looks nice, it's performing well, and it's half the price.
Right. And here in this case, Kia America delivers its second highest sales figures ever in quarter 1 of 2024, thanks to EV and SUV sales. Well, we know SUV sales are the hot thing in the United States.
Yeah.
Cars don't sell as well here. That's also been an issue with EVs. When people try to make their EVs all be cars as opposed to SUVs, that's kind of a mismatch with the American consumer, which is why the Model Y is the #1 selling car I think both in the United States and in the world. And so it makes a big difference. Drivers want attractive automobiles. Who thought? Who would have thought that? With innovative powertrains, high-tech safety features, and affordable price tags. The proof is in the sales figures. Let's see.
Well, I think you and I could have come up with that marketing strategy.
Yes,
Make a
yes.
good looking car that performs well and is cheap.
So look at that.
Okay. And it's safe.
Kia's Kia's EV sales were up 88% compared to the same quarter of 2023. That's almost
That's
doubling.
insane. Yeah.
They are really growing. And we hear all the time, it's like, oh, EV sales are falling. And the truth is, Tesla sales are slowing down. And, they've had some issues. I think a lot of it is a lot of people who would buy Tesla don't like, how Musk stands
There's
on
a
certain
stigma,
things.
right?
And
There's
they're
a
trying to
stigma.
make a political statement. And
Yeah.
it's really sad how political EVs have become because you've got all of these Republican lawmakers trying to say that EVs are bad, when at the
Mhm.
same time, you've got Democrats promoting it, but on the flip side, I mostly see conservative people driving them.
Yeah.
And so there's a mismatch in some of those messages. And Bill and I were talking about this yesterday. It was about 5 years ago where this transition from them just being a great idea to becoming polarizing politically came about. It was kind of at the last presidential election is about where they came about. And I guess part of it is I attribute some of this to wokeism, is that wokeism a lot of times seems so far out there that it makes anything, well, if these people are supporting this, then these other ideas must be
Scientification.
crazy too.
Yeah. Yeah.
How can you listen to them? And I get that. And it's just horrible messaging. It's horrible messaging for the
Well,
United
I
States.
always look to I forever use Walmart as a bellwether example because they're an efficiently run company, and if something makes sense financially, even over the long haul, like they have a physical brick and mortar store footprint, so they're willing to invest for a long period. Like we can afford a 10-year payback because we're going to be in this building for a long time. So
Right.
I use them forever as an example. Like, boy, when they start putting on solar panels, when they start electrifying their fleet, it means that the dollars make sense. Like it's an economic decision purely. We're going to do it. And we haven't seen as much with them, but the Amazon delivery, where it's all of their new orders, it's all electric vehicles, they're provisioning for this. And sure, maybe that's out of the goodness of their heart and some good PR value. It's an economic decision. These are going to
Right.
pay for themselves. This makes sense in this application. Let's do it.
Well, Amazon owns 1/6 of Rivian as well. And
And
right now, with how the Rivian stock has plummeted, it would probably be a good idea for them to buy a bigger
to go
stake
back,
in the
yeah,
company. Yeah,
yeah,
to go back and buy up a bigger chunk of the company because they're so integrated. What's interesting is for Rivian, they make money on all those Amazon vans. I don't know that they make money on their consumer products yet.
on
I
everything
think
else.
I'm pretty sure they lose money on every consumer vehicle they sell, even though they have some $90,000 SUVs and
Yeah,
trucks. They still aren't making money on those, but the delivery vans they do. I even
that
saw one guy that does car reviews. He even reviewed an Amazon van. He
nice.
had yeah, it was really quite interesting because he was showing all the cool features the van had in it that you wouldn't expect that a delivery truck would have. It was pretty solid. All the little creature comforts that Rivian had built into those vans that
Good.
you think they'd be really bare bones.
Bare bones.
Right.
Here's your electric drivetrain. Here's your AC and heat and a couple of
Oh
speakers
yeah, I mean like
plugged in.
heated seats, like heated seats and a lot of good features. So this one is a little off base, but we're going to talk about the Ford Mach-E a little bit. And this is one that doesn't really get a lot of attention. To me, the Mach-E looks like it's been more of a replacement. It's so similar to what an electric Ford Explorer would be, because they're basically about the same size vehicle. But they're having a late 2024 model coming in. It's got more range, faster charging, and quicker acceleration. Now, when you think of Mustang, the quicker acceleration sounds like something people would want.
Appealing.
Yeah, so that has an EPA estimated range of 320 miles. Oh, the standard battery will get 250. The Mach-E GT gets 280 miles, but it's going to accelerate from 0 to 60 in 3.3, which Ford says is faster than the Model Y and the Porsche Macan 4 electric. Do a quarter mile in 11.8 seconds at 114 miles per hour. The performance upgrade is optional on the Mach-E GT, but standard on the new special edition rally version of the electric SUV. And when plugged into a DC fast charger, it can charge from 10 to 80%. So most use 20 to 80. So this one's using 10 to 80 in 36 minutes, which is an 8.8 minute
See, I
improvement.
look at that and I want to take a step back and like, what's their market research on that? And is it truly, hey, we're not meeting sales expectations because it needs to have a little bit better range, charge a little bit faster, go a little bit quicker, or is there something else missing? Because I look at some of those and just say, is yeah, you increase your percentages by a little bit, but is that enough to push you over the hill in that space to really gain interest, or is this just another? Yeah, we made it more efficient, we made it better. It's a better product than what it was, but it's not a fundamentally different product than what it was 6 months ago.
Well, I wonder. So they finally chopped the price so it was cheaper than a Model Y by a couple $1,000.
Mhm.
But this is kind of the thing. The Model Y is obviously the champ in the SUV space. And what can they do? They can try to improve it so it's got maybe better specs than the Model Y.
Mhm.
I mean, I think that would be a good lead-in for them if they can show it. Obviously the quarter mile time isn't going to drive a lot of people to buy a Ford over Tesla,
I mean,
but
that's what I look at in some. So transitioning from a combustion engine to an electric vehicle, it's a lot more fun to drive. It
yeah,
accelerates really quickly and really smoothly. So just, that's where I'm getting at. Turning the dial up a little bit on that is like it really put me back in my seat on that one. I
yeah,
just don't know. I just don't know.
yeah. But the extra range, I think, is a plus. I
Yeah,
just think they want to show that they're at least getting parity with what Tesla's
okay.
delivering.
Fair enough. Yeah.
And the weird thing is Ford is the 100-plus-year-old car maker, right? Tesla is the 10-year-old car maker, 12-year-old car maker. But if you were looking, well, I can get a Model Y, or I can get a Ford Mach-E for basically the same price. Which way do you go? And a lot of that is whether, hey, I've always been a Ford person. So there's something to it. Plus, the Mach-E still does look like a regular car, whereas, Teslas all have a little bit of a futuristic look, although it's getting to be very normal now because people are starting to adopt similar lines around their cars. So, on here, a lot of times we talk about stocks and people manipulating stocks and different stuff. I don't talk about as much on your episodes, but this one's about VinFast, which is VFS, is what the stock trades as. And for a while, when they first went public, they had this massive IPO, and only 1% of the company's stock was out in the public float. So that it wasn't, the insiders were holding 99% ownership of the company, yet it still has this crazy high market value. Well, here's and this is a Vietnamese automaker, which isn't subject to all the same restrictions as the Chinese automakers. They're already selling in California, and they're signing on dealers all over the rest of the United States. And their basic vehicle is a less expensive Model Y competitor. And then in either 2025, they're supposed to bring that VF3, which is going to be the sub $20,000 real small SUV that looks like the Suzuki Samurai used to look.
Oh, yeah.
They're bringing that to market. Oh, it's sharp looking.
Yeah.
Sharp looking vehicle.
That was a good size for what its purpose was.
But the company has lost $5.7 billion over the past 3 years. Now, a lot of that is those losses are capital losses where they're building infrastructure, things like that. It's hard to recoup that. And that's why when you see like the numbers of how much, say, Lucid loses on every vehicle, a lot of it's because they've put so much money into capital investment, and they really haven't produced that many vehicles yet.
They haven't made enough volume yet.
Yeah. But VinFast got 11 billion of capital injections from Vin Group, its affiliates, and the group's billionaire founder Pham Nhat Vuong between its inception in 2017 and the end of 23, according to the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission. Now, one of the things I saw was, here we go. Last year, VinFast generated 82% of its $1.1 billion in vehicle sales from companies or part of Vin Group or owned by the CEO. Yeah, and the guy who's CEO owns nearly 98% of the company's stock. So there's like 1% for other insiders, 1% for the public float, and 98% for him.
Yeah, and he's requiring the rest of his portfolio to purchase vehicles from them to keep them afloat.
And I was under the impression from some of the transactions I've been involved in that at least 30% of your company's stock has to be in the public float to go public. That may not be an actual requirement, but I thought it was a requirement. But here I'm seeing this, and it's like, I don't understand where VinFast can do that. Yeah, 70% of its deliveries last year went to Green SM, a taxi operator and leasing provider owned by the CEO. So that's almost all in Vietnam. That's one of the reasons too why that VF3 is driven. They call it the national vehicle of Vietnam, and it's going to be here in the U.S. soon. Let me see. They had 57 million in EV sales with Vin Homes, $1 million EV sales contract with Vin Group, 7 million to Vin Bus, $839 million of EVs and e-scooters to GSM, which might have been GSM. Oh, that was the taxi company.
Okay.
What are you doing with scooters? Are they doing scooter taxi rides? You go around and pick somebody up on your scooter and they ride on the back? That's kind of.
Do you know anything about their CEO? I'm wondering if he's a public figure or kind of a national character in Vietnam, or if he's
He
just one of
is.
those in the background. I've got a whole lot of capital to inject.
I do know somebody that knows him,
Okay.
but I've never really tried to push that. They're not somebody I've been anxious to get on the show.
Yeah.
Maybe when we get a little bit bigger, I might. He might be somebody interesting to have on. It just they sold 35,000 EVs last year, below its 50,000 target, and they could produce 300,000 at his factory in Haiphong. Man, they're aiming for 100,000 this year. I think they're capable, and I think when that, like I said, that VF3 comes, I think it's going to just sell like hotcakes because you're talking a much cheaper EV coming to the market. In the United States right now, the cheapest car that's new is a Nissan Versa, and it's around $16,000 stripped down. And so some EVs coming for 20,000 would be pretty affordable, right?
I think it'd be competitive. I think that could be very competitive.
So let's see. My next topic is kind of a sad one. Polestar EV sales are down 40% in Q1. And a part of this has to do with China. So China is the world's largest car market, period. They're also the largest EV market. And something went on in this last quarter with, say, BYD. The Chinese New Year was in February, and so their sales were way down. And so this had an effect on their numbers. I had people talking about how much BYD sales were down, but they actually weren't down for the quarter, year over year. So from
little dip
yeah,
right.
So in the previous year, it had been in January where the numbers had been down. Mm-hmm. But if you took the whole quarter versus the first quarter last year, they were up quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll have people try to cherry pick that February as being a downturn, and it really wasn't. It was just that the Chinese New Year runs for a couple of weeks. It's not. I think it might be 2.5 weeks. They're basically, if you're importing stuff from China, you're not really doing anything there. They're on holiday for that. But Polestar is a nice looking brand, and it's sort of a Volvo Geely brand. It's manufactured in China. They're nice looking, but and then this other Polestar 2 was down 50% year over year in China. So that's a big drop. But I think you've got issues in that there are a lot of competitive vehicles that are having to compete with BYD, and BYD is really bringing the competitiveness to the market. I mean, they got nice looking vehicles.
Those are great looking vehicles. Yeah, it's such an interesting market to watch right now in China, and the competitiveness and the names that are coming out. And I mean, it's who's going to come out on the top of the scrap heap over there, and who's going to make their way to the US as it continues to go. So it's just, yeah, like Polestar is not a company I was super familiar with, but you look at it, it's like, that looks like a nice vehicle. I bet it performs well. I bet it's meeting all of its standards, and the price point isn't atrocious. It's fine.
So they're trying to do the direct sales model like Tesla,
Mm-hmm.
but they're a Volvo brand. So they're not under the Volvo flag, but all Volvos are sold through dealerships.
Dealers, yeah.
And I think this is one of the things where Tesla has this big advantage. If Tesla was being sold through dealerships, their sales would probably be half of what they are. One of the big things is people like the Tesla buying experience. Now, some people probably like shopping at dealerships. I don't know any, but there probably are some people who like shopping at dealerships. I'm sure they exist. Okay. It's really weird to think about how much when we were kids or teenagers, we'd go to the mall and wander around and look at stuff. And I think a lot of that was just kind of learning about stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It was interesting to go shopping. And as we get older, it's like, well, I've seen all that. I don't care anymore.
I know exactly what I want. I want to make it as painless as possible. I did my research. I want this, and I want it now. And I'll write you a check, hand me the keys.
Well, and the other thing is, I remember years ago, I've bought cars where I simply, have called the dealer and say, hey, this is what I want. Can you send me over the paperwork?
Yeah.
And didn't go and, to the dealership. But that it's kind of different. And a lot of it has to do with what kind of business you're in and things like that. I've ordered cars before, but for the normal person, you go in and then you go through the hassle of they're gonna, you got to haggle on the
Yeah.
price. They want to deal with your
That's
trade-in,
the
then
way
they
of
want to
I've always
sell
done.
you
You get
all
your
these
consumer
add-ons.
reports, their invoice price, and you just walk in. I know this is what you paid for it. I know you get additional incentives. I'll give you $50 over invoice. Let's call it done. Let's call it good. I want to sign and drive and leave.
Well, and then they want to sell you extended warranty
Yeah.
and they want to
Now,
get you to finance through them. And it's like, well, we'll do that deal if you finance through
here's
us, and
I said that to a salesman once when they were going through the extended warranty. Oh, you're going to have to cover this. It was a Toyota dealership. My wife's Toyota, this screen went out and it was $1,000. My Toyota, this happened, And it's total. Why the hell would you ever buy another Toyota? Like if all of those things actually happen to your vehicles within a 3-year period. Oh, okay.
right. No, I get it. It gets a little crazy sometimes, but let's see where we're at. Oh, our next topic, we want to talk about Tesla is releasing a longer range, sort of inexpensive Model Y in some European countries to test out. So they're doing a long range rear wheel drive only Model Y. And let's see what we've got. It's the second most affordable and longest range variant of the all electric crossover. So it's rear wheel. It's being sold in some Europe and Middle Eastern locations, comes with 372-mile range. The base Model Y rear wheel drive has a 282-mile range. This is an extra 90 miles. And the technically long range all wheel drive only has a 331-mile range. This is a pretty big boost. That's another 41 miles over the all wheel drive long range.
It's inching closer to 400. I mean, that's
yeah, it sure is. And it's available for order in Austria, Czechia, Denmark, Finland, Germany, Belgium, Luxembourg. Man, it's a lot of countries. Switzerland, Spain,
big,
Portugal,
big
Norway,
market.
Sweden, Iceland, Italy, Greece, Poland, Slovenia, Romania, and Hungary. Not available in the UK and the Netherlands. Well, that's sad if you're Dutch or English. Let's see. $52,500, making it the second most affordable variant where it's offered. The Model Y long range variant that's all wheel drive, and the Model Y Performance start at $59,000. Oh, that's pretty nice. That'll probably come to the U.S. at some point.
I don't see what would inhibit it from making its way over here.
It's probably being manufactured in Germany.
Yeah.
And maybe they haven't started tooling the plants to do it here in the U.S. But that's a pretty considerable range increase. It's something that's kind of been under the radar, but that's a big number. All right, let's see. This is not trying to give CarMax any special credence, but CarMax collects data on its customers, and it released some of this. So CarMax brand loyalty survey shows growing popularity of electrified vehicles. And now they started with the Prius, replacing the Corvette at the top of the model loyalty list. Tesla ranked 5th in brand loyalty. And SUV owners are the most loyal to body style, and more electrified SUVs are coming to market. Well, I think, being loyal to the body style of an SUV, a lot of that just has to do with, are you comfortable climbing in and out of a car?
Yeah.
Not everybody has the flexibility and mobility. If you're hurt, it's really hard to climb in and out of a car, whereas an SUV or a minivan or a pickup truck are a lot easier to climb in and out of. So there's some advantage to that. But it's the first time that they've had electric cars make the list. Now, the hybrid electric Prius had the highest brand loyalty at 38% of Prius owners buying a Prius as the next vehicle. RAV4 hybrid owners, it was 32.9% would bought another RAV4. This is kind of interesting data. Toyota owners had the highest at 28.5% bought another Toyota. And Tesla was fifth at 24.7%. I don't know how many people would be buying Tesla after Tesla at CarMax, because there haven't been a lot of used ones, but they're starting to be more and more on the market.
That's I was wondering about, and this is just me guessing, that Tesla would have a higher brand loyalty just because of the way they've performed. And what detracts for some people attracts some people. It's Tesla. It's great. It's modern. It's everywhere. And I just wonder if this is a product of there hasn't been an opportunity for people to be repeat Tesla buyers because it's that first really accessible generation of them. It's not that old. I mean, it's not necessarily time to start looking for that replacement vehicle yet. So wonder if we'll see an uptick in that as 3, 4, 5 years from now, as it becomes time to start replacing some of that original cycle.
Well, I was thinking about this. I mean, how many Tesla owners would be going to CarMax to trade in their Tesla on a used Tesla?
Yeah.
So that's
fair
kind
enough.
of a different thing. In 2017, the Chevy Corvette topped the model list of most loyal owners. And this year it was replaced by the Prius. Still not an EV, a true EV, but more electric SUVs are coming. I thought that was something that people would like to know about a little bit. It's just kind of random, though. That's based on just CarMax.
Yeah, one customers out there, but
now I hear all the time about how EVs are too expensive to insure, and I'm not really sure where this information comes from. But here, this is all U.S. autos. Soaring insurance costs hit as U.S. buyers get a break on car prices. So here's somebody talking about they bought a 2024 Cadillac XT4, and when he renewed his insurance a few months later, the rate doubled.
Wow.
And that's surprising. Car prices are coming down, but at least part of those gains to consumers are getting gobbled up by rising auto insurance rates that for some models now account for more than a quarter of the total cost of owning a vehicle. That's pretty amazing. With an electric car, you basically kind of wipe out the cost of fueling it, but you still have insurance and, of course, the payment for the car itself. And then you wipe out most of your maintenance. So you've got a lot less total cost of ownership in one, but it is a big shock of how insurance has gone up. So from a year earlier, the consumer price index rose 3.5% from a year earlier. But look at this one.
Wow.
Auto insurance year over year is up 22.2%, the biggest increase since the 1970s. That is a staggering change. 22% increase in car insurance rates in the United States.
Part of me says that's just a cash grab because they can. However, I know in the insurance business, it's all actuarial and they're figuring things out and calculating and seeing what they can do. But that's a big increase.
Car insurance rates vary widely across the country, influenced by everything from local cost collision repair shops charge to the potential for damage from tropical storms and wildfires. According to Insurify, the average cost for full coverage rose 24% last year and now stands at just over $182 per month. 63% of its drivers surveyed saw rates increase in 23 and predicts rates will rise another 7% in 24. Those are big increases. Now here is 2019 is dark. The lighter color is 2024 in terms of car insurance as a total cost of ownership. Mid-size compact cars, it's really jumped. Mid-size cars, EVs, it's increased, but just from like 15% or 16% of ownership to about 18% of ownership. So it's not really been a big change there. But on a mid-size car, it's gone from about 14% to 25%, and from 16% to 26% on a compact car. So it seems to really fit in certain types of vehicles. Pickup trucks didn't go up a whole lot, but pickup trucks, part of that total cost of ownership is pickup trucks are expensive.
Yeah.
And so some of these are really pricey, but so that this number could have gone up more, but some of this could be the fact that just EV prices on this part are just coming down.
They're
And
starting to come
so
down. Yeah.
yeah, and so it doesn't look like EV insurance rates are really going up.
I know that's with graphs like this. You have to really pay attention to what they're actually saying, and all the factors that are going into those. Because, like you were saying before that, you'd expect electric vehicles to be pretty stable in that space, since you don't have variable fuel costs that are going to impact those numbers year over year.
So here's an interesting claim. So a bumper is just a bumper, or a bumper full of sensors costs a lot more to repair. That makes a lot of sense. A lot of the cost is now cars are becoming much more complicated.
Well, and windshields, my goodness, a modern windshield with its rain sensors and everything like that are insane.
So let me see. Here's some issues of new production that it influences insurance and its implications. Tesla pioneered the gigacasting, which involves casting a single part that can replace 30 or more separate pieces of metal in a traditional vehicle. Reduces production costs, but can make it costlier to repair a vehicle involved in an accident. Yeah, I would think that would be a pretty big deal. Cadillac makes one model now that uses 16 gigacastings. So those are pretty big changes that are going on in the insurance industry and are tough for people to deal with. Mike, do you have anything you want to talk about? Otherwise, we're pretty good. All right, well, folks, we appreciate folks listening in. I think we're good for today, and we've had lots of listeners, and we appreciate you all watching. And I'll be back with Mike next Wednesday. All right, Mike, well, you have a great day. Okay.
Thanks, David. Take care.